Okay. Okay, so again, good morning to everyone. My name is Bina. I'm a nutritionist at the Department for the Aging. And over here on this Zoom meeting, we also have the project coordinator of this virtual smart living initiative grant, his name is Mr. Jorge Yopal. And we also have one of our team members, Jennifer Keys. She is a dietetic intern at Hunter College, and she is going to be moderating this event. And just a thank you to Jennifer for helping to prepare a lot of the information that we'll be discussing today about this recipe. And also a thank you to our sponsors. This event has been brought to you by the ACL Grants Virtual Smart Living Initiative in partnership with the New York City Department for the Aging. So today's recipe is going to be cranberry apple compote. I'm not sure if any of you have made anything like this before, but I'm really excited that you joined because this is a really delicious recipe. The timing is just perfect for Thanksgiving as we're making plans and thinking of what's going to be on our tables. This is a great healthy dish that you can add to your table. And there's nothing like a homemade recipe and especially when you can adjust it to make it more nutritious as opposed to buying it from the grocery store. So you will be receiving this recipe card after the event today, but you may already have from the flyer, you'll see what ingredients are required for this recipe. So some of the things that we're going to be using, we're going to be using an apple and half a cup of cranberries. And we're going to be using the juice and the zest of this orange. We'll also be adding in some cinnamon. And then the very last step will be to add in some maple syrup for sweetness. So the first thing that we always do before we start preparing any recipe is make sure that you've washed your hands for 20 seconds in warm water and with soap. And now that my hands have already been washed, we're ready to start preparing this recipe. So over here, we have measured already out half a cup of cranberries, and these have been already rinsed. You could use frozen cranberries if you want to, but I've decided to use fresh.
Bina,
yes.
Can you like to ask everyone to mute themselves, please?
Sure.
There's a lot of background noise and we're recording this, so please mute yourself, everyone. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So we have the half a cup of cranberries here, and we're ready to pour this into our bowl. Okay. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we have this orange here. So this orange has already been washed, and we're going to zest it, and this is going to add in a lot of flavor. So over here I have the zester, and if you haven't used one before, you can just put the fruit on the cutting board and then kind of brush it back and forth to get some of the zest. And we're going to be getting the zest of half of this orange over here. So as you can see, as I'm zesting it, a lot of the zest is coming over here, which I'm going to collect afterwards. And I have to say, as I'm zesting this, I really smell the aroma of this like fresh orange, which is just so delicious. If you don't have a zester at home, you could try to use like a peeler, a vegetable peeler, or a grater, or you can even try using a knife, but just be careful if you do choose to use a knife. And you can purchase a zester from like any home goods type of store, like Bed Bath & Beyond. They should also have it at Walmart or Target, probably Amazon as well. And usually the cost is about like $3 to $10, depending on the brand of the item. Okay, so we're just about finished zesting this orange. Okay, and I just want to show this to you how much zest we were able to get out of it. I'm gonna put the zest in here. I'm gonna scoop some of it out. Okay. All right, and now that we have the zest out, we are ready to start juicing it. So I'm gonna take a knife and I'm gonna cut this orange in half. Okay, and the recipe calls for half an orange. I actually will use the whole thing just because I feel like it makes the sauce a little bit more fluid, which I like. So over here, I have this juicer, and what we're gonna do is just take this and we're gonna start getting some of the juice out. You could also use a clementine instead of an orange. If that's what you have, it should come out pretty similarly since they have somewhat of a similar texture. Okay, so this is great. I'm really getting a lot of juice out of this orange. And we're gonna do the other half now. Okay. All right. And then once we're finished getting the juice out, we're going to be adding this into our bowl with all of the ingredients. Okay, so we're gonna pour the juice in. And I'm actually gonna also collect some of the pulp from there. As you can see, there's some pulp around the juicer. So we're gonna get that out.
I have someone that asked if that was a half cup of zest.
So it was basically half of an orange worth of zest over here. As you can see, half of my orange, I got the zest off of it, but this other half is it's still on it. So I used the whole orange for the juice, but half of the orange for the zest. Okay, I'm gonna add the zest to that. Okay. And the next thing that we're going to be adding in is the apple. So let's just move this out of the way for a moment. Okay. And this recipe calls for 1 apple. So the first thing, this apple has already been washed. And what we're going to do next is we're going to peel it and then we're going to dice it. The apple that I chose was the Pink Lady apple. You could also use Honeycrisp apple, or you could use Granny Smith. Really, I chose to have like a sweeter type of apple because of the tartness of the cranberries. This can help to counterbalance that. So this is this can be an option that you can choose. Okay. So now that we have most of the skin of this apple removed, we're going to be ready to dice it. Okay, let's just get this off here. Okay, so you're going to basically cut this up. Okay. All right, and let's just remove the bottom over here. And we're going to cut this basically into small pieces. And once this cooks, you're going to see how it changes into a beautiful color. It's going to pick up the color of the cranberries, and it's going to become nice and saucy after it cooks. So we're going to add this into our bowl and then cut the rest of it. Okay. Okay, and as we're talking about apples, apples are a great source of fiber. The apples have both types of fiber soluble and insoluble, but actually the skin is a great part of where the nutrients are contained. So I would even, if I was making this recipe another time, I would even try to make it with the skin on it and see how that comes out. Okay, so here we have, in this bowl, we have 1 apple, peeled and diced. We have half a cup of fresh cranberries and the orange, the juice of 1 orange and half of an orange worth of zest. And then we're going to be adding in the cinnamon.
Let me see yours, whoever. Here, you get this one. What you want? Hers, so she can sign in.
If you don't mind, everyone, to just please mute yourselves. And if you have any questions during the recording, you can feel free to submit them through the chat. Okay, so what we're measuring out is over here, I have 1/4 teaspoon. We're going to take 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and then add that in here. Okay. And then the last ingredient is going to be the maple syrup, but we're going to add that in after this is cooked. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be transferring my kitchen countertop camera over to the stovetop. So that way you can get a good view of this as we're cooking. So I'm going to need my wooden spoon here, which we're going to use for mixing. And I also have a small little pot. So we're going to be taking this and moving this to the other side of the kitchen. Okay. And let's just take it here.
Saying it wrong. Wait, let me answer the door.
There we go. Can everyone see the pot on the stovetop clearly? Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to put this on a medium flame. Okay. And we're going to pour in the ingredients. Okay. Okay, this is already starting to smell really good, the combination of these ingredients. And then we're going to basically allow this to come to a boil. Okay, and mix it around a little bit. I prefer to use a wooden spoon since this is like a Teflon pot, so I don't want to get any scratches on it. And then we're going to let it come to a boil. And then once it starts boiling, we're going to allow it to simmer. Okay. And then, okay, after this is finished cooking, we're going to be adding in 1.5 tablespoons of maple syrup. Okay. So this, you could use, if you don't have maple syrup, you can also use things like honey or agave nectar or molasses. You can try using a similar amount, 1.5 tablespoons, and you can feel free to adjust if you know if needed for the texture or the consistency. Okay, and then once this is finished cooking, so again, you're gonna just checking on it, mixing it around, and as you can see in here, it's already starting to pick up on the colors and the flavors. Okay. And this could take a little bit of time to cook, but once this is done, you're going to add in the maple syrup, put it into your fridge for about 2 hours, and then you can eat it. You can serve it warm, and there's so many different ways that you can eat this recipe. You can have it, you know, just plain for dessert. You can mix it into some plain low-fat yogurt, and it'll give it a great flavor. You can add it to some toast. So this is really a great, delicious dish that can go onto your Thanksgiving table. we're also going to talk a little bit about the benefits of cranberries. And I'm going to show you the package of cranberries that I have here. Okay, so over here is a pack of ocean spray cranberries. You could use frozen if you want to. The nutritionally frozen and fresh cranberries are pretty similar, but it might come out slightly differently. You know, if you're using the frozen ones, you just want to make sure that you give it some time to defrost before you add it into your recipe. And in terms of cranberries, so berries in general are a great source of potassium and fiber. Cranberries in particular, they have a certain compound in them called polyphenols. Polyphenols are these compounds that are found in plants that have these amazing properties. So they help because they are antibacterial, so they can help your body to fight against bacteria. They're antiviral, so they can help your body to fight against viruses that make us sick. They are also anti-carcinogenic, which means they could have a protective effect against cancer. So they have these really amazing properties, and it's great to you know, have them as part of our dishes. You know, also for UTIs, you know, a lot of times when people have UTIs, they're recommended to drink cranberry juice. So this is really great nutrients. The polyphenols in cranberries are a great thing to try to eat more of. And
Bina,
yes, please.
would you mind please centering your camera a little bit more so we see, now we see a little more. Now we were seeing only half your face.
Oh, okay, great. Thank
Now
you.
we can see you. Yeah.
Okay, great. And we are also going to check on this pot over here. So let's see. Okay, so as you can see, this is bubbling. Okay, so now that this is bubbling, we are going to reduce this to a simmer. Okay. And are there any questions in the chat so far?
No.
Okay. So another thing that I want to talk about is the benefit of making a recipe like this as opposed to buying just cranberry sauce from the grocery store. Last week when I was in the grocery store, I noticed that they had the same brand, this Ocean Spray jelly cranberry sauce on sale. And I just took a look at it. I wanted to see how much sugar was in there. And for one serving of that, a serving for that can was 1/4 cup. And just for 1/4 cup, there were 24 grams of added sugar. So added sugar versus natural sugar is the sugar that's naturally found in this fruit. So for example, something like this has natural sugar in it, but they haven't added any sugar to this. That's why it's so tart. But if you go to the grocery store and you pick up a can of cranberry sauce, then they do add sugar to that, sugar in the form of high fructose corn syrup. So they've added that sweetener to it, and they add a lot of it. Just for 1/4 cup, there's 24 grams of added sugar, as opposed to this recipe that we're making here today. The only added sugar that we're adding in is the added sugar that's coming from the maple syrup. And for the whole recipe, which makes about 3 servings, it contains basically about 20 grams of sugar. So for the whole recipe, we're getting less sugar in as opposed to just 1 serving of the cranberry sauce from the can, which is definitely a lot to think about. How, you know, when we're preparing foods at home, we have the advantage of controlling how much sugar we're putting into our recipes, how much salt, and our food doesn't have to be bland and tasteless. We could add a little bit of sugar into it, but we're going to be a lot better off as opposed to buying things that we can't take the sugar out of that jelly cranberry sauce. So let's get back to this and see how we're doing.
Bina, just quickly, so people have a vision of what 24 grams of sugar looks like. It's about 3.5 teaspoons of sugar. So per serving, so per quarter cup.
That's right.
3.5 teaspoons of sugar. That's a lot of sugar in one serving.
Definitely. And also, sometimes people aren't always measuring their portions. So maybe they're eating a half a cup of the jelly cranberry sauce, which would mean in that case, they're getting in 7 teaspoons of sugar. Okay. So we're going to take a look at how we're doing. And as you can see over here, the apples have already started to pick up on the beautiful colors of the cranberry. Okay. And the apples are also starting to feel kind of soft, which is great. We're going to just mix this around a little bit more. And in the meantime, we'll start measuring out the maple syrup to add into this. Okay. Okay. So over here we have a tablespoon. So we're going to use a tablespoon and a half of this. Okay. So over here, I'm measuring out 1 tablespoon.
I want y'all to let everybody see y'all, say hi, then leave. So turn your camera on so they can see you.
And then I'm gonna add in another half a tablespoon.
Make sure you see yourself. And when you see yourself, you wave and then you leave. You see, okay, good. I need you to turn your camera back off. Whenever you want.
I don't see Wade. How you
Can we mute the
All right.
person, please?
So now I think we're ready to add in the cooked cranberries with the maple syrup, and we're gonna mix those in together. Delicious. Okay,
That looks good.
we're gonna pour this into here. Okay. And then we're gonna mix this around. I'll just bring this here to the side, as you can see. And basically, you're gonna give it 2 hours just to let all of the flavors soak up together. Leave it in your fridge and then take it out of your fridge 2 hours later. And then you have this delicious cranberry apple compote that you can add to your Thanksgiving table and impress your guests. Okay, so at this point, we can stop the recording and take any